I have this canvas. I should turn it around so you can actually see what the image is. This was a painting that I stalled out on. It is a little girl riding on the back of a horse. It has no tail. Anyways, I want to use this size. This is a 24 by 24 for my current idea. What I think I want to do is just paint right on top of this old oil painting. I don't do that very often, but I don't want to go and buy a new canvas because I want to start this project tonight. That's a lot of talking just to tell you that I'm going to paint on top of this. Company ArtX sent me this really awesome box of acrylic markers. How pretty it is. Which was a ton of fun because these are like the acrylic markers that you shake. So I thought, you know what? Because I'm working on a canvas that already has an image on it, if I sketch with pencil, it's going to be so hard to see. So I took one of these ArtX markers, took this lime green, and I sketched right onto my canvas. What? I loved it so much. I think I might have to do it all the time from now on. So I really don't know if you can see. Maybe I'll try to bring it closer. I sketched a very cute scene. I have a very strong feeling that you're not going to be able to see my sketch, but you know, it would be really fun if I let this painting emerge throughout the entire video. So let's make some magic and make this painting come to life. Before I get started, I'm going to show you what I put on my palette. So I always start with a big squeeze of titanium white because I'll use a ton of white. And then I always use Permanent Rose by Winsor & Newton, but I am out. So I'm going to have to, I don't know, try to squeeze a little bit out here. I haven't found a pink that I just absolutely love from Gamblin yet. So this is the only one in another brand that I use. I use Cadmium Red Light, Alizarin Crimson Permanent, and this one is dry, so I'm gonna have to try to get into it. I think I have mentioned before, I have a very bad habit of not putting the lids on my paints. Cadmium Yellow Light, Ultramarine Blue, Radiant Turquoise, Raw Sienna, and Ivory Black. Oh, I actually forgot one. It's Naples Yellow, and I would usually put it right here, but that's okay. So now that I have my palette, I am ready to rock and roll. Keep all of my brushes in this planter that I painted, and my very favorite ones, and I wish they had the names on them, but they don't, are these like natural, stiff, rounded tip brush. I believe that I bought these from the Artist Loft thinking they would be the same, but they weren't. But I do like them. They're just a lot more flexible than I like. I like a very stiff natural brush. I think that it leaves gorgeous brush strokes. Oh, this one is Value Line Creative Mark. I remember why I don't want to suggest these to you. These ones, the bristles fall out, and I think that this is like the last one I have left from this set that the bristles didn't fall out. So this must have been an anomaly because the bristles stayed in this one. I have my sketch on here, and I wonder if you can tell what this bit is. Maybe we can play a game. What is this animal? Let's get painting. So I'm going to mention this later in the video, but I am planning on putting together a book from these little girl, powerful animal paintings. And I'm going to show you some of the paintings that I've already done for this collection. The one thing that I find tricky, and I have been like letting myself play around with other ideas at the same time as making this big book project, is like taking an idea and seeing it all the way to the end. So I have been really generous with myself, and you know, I'll make one, I'll take a little time to make something else, because I don't want the process to feel like a drag. I have loved every single painting that I plan to put in this book, and I think it's because I have taken that do it when it feels good mentality very seriously. But I am coming to a point where I'm like, I need to make more of these because I want to see this book project come to completion. So I don't have a timeline, but that is what I am heading towards. And that's why I'm making all of these little girl and animal paintings the exact same size, all 24 by 24, so that when I format my book, they will all be in the square format. So I plan to make 24 of these paintings, and this is the 5th one in the series. So buckle up because I don't know what animals I'm going to choose next. This is a bit different than I usually paint. I have been trying to focus more on making really dynamic backgrounds, and I think I accomplished it with this painting. In my last video, I showed you this painting of this little boy that was riding on a goose, and I loved how that turned out. The background was super dynamic. You could really like engage with the scene. So this painting, I wanted to do the same thing. And I cannot tell you how much I love how it turned out. I love the girl's face. Because I was painting a bigger character, I could really focus on making this expressive little face. Like her lips are so sweet. And I love how this painting turned out. And I know I say that about every single thing I make. It's mostly because I am only showing you guys the things I really like. I got off track a little bit with summer, but I am working on a book, and this will be my 5th image for the book. So that brings me to the next thing I want to tell you guys. Each painting basically leads me to my next painting. So while I'll have like a really good idea of what I want to do next, sometimes I'll finish a painting and this will spur me in my next direction. A few weeks ago, I made these little paintings of swans, or no, they were ducks on vintage lawn chairs. And I loved it. I thought the imagery was so cool, so fun, so nostalgic. And I was like, how can I continue on with this idea, but make a character and use this painting for my book? I didn't really walk you guys through the process of making my reference photo, but this little girl sitting in the chair is actually from an image of my daughter sitting in her camp chair. And I had her hold up a little stick in our yard because I didn't have a bubble wand like this. I only had the long, thin ones, you know, that go in the tubes. And I said, make your lips like this, like you're kissing someone. And she did it, and it just turned out so great. The photo was so cute. And I think I've told you before, but I don't post images of my children here or on Instagram. And so I can't really show you that reference photo, but this is basically what it is. And then I gathered up some photos of bubbles and I did some sketching to figure out how I wanted the alligator to be like forward in the image, so it looks like everything's going back into space. Now that I have this painting finished, I'm thinking ahead to my next one. I love how she's like close to the viewer, and I want to do that again because I think this image has such a huge impact. And I love the size of her face. I'm usually painting faces that are like this big, and I am like my nose on my canvas trying to get the face just right. Painting a face this size allowed me to be a lot looser and more expressive with my brushstrokes. Since I loved painting the character up close, I sketched out another character in the exact same way. I have her super up close and personal with the viewer, and then you can see all of the things that are happening in her little world. I have this really great art rep who takes my images and she'll shop them around for licensing, and I want to use this image for that purpose, for her to shop it around. But I also want to make something that I can add into my book. So this is going to be a dual purpose painting. And then also I'll be offering it to you all as an original piece and as a print. So here's my idea. I want to do a little cowgirl, like a child. I got my daughter all set up with her hat and a book, and I photographed her. And then I pulled images of chickens, and I want her to be basically reading to the chickens. So I have it all sketched out. Let me show you. I don't know if you can tell what's happening here, but here she is. My sketch is always super loose. I want the background to have like a far off landscape scene. And so that's supposed to be a far off tree. And then here is my mama chicken and her 4 chicks. And I'm trying to think if I want to make it 3 chicks. I don't know. I sketched 4. And she's gonna have a little bandana around her neck. But as you can see, super light, not much detail, because I like to find it with my paintbrush and I don't want to be married to this idea. I sketched it again with these Art X markers. It's basically just like a Posca pen, and I really like it. And there's these cute little bows on them. So cool. And I know that I like preach my glass palette, but I have really been liking these paper palettes. Maybe when I have a little bit more bandwidth to come in here and clean my palette, I will get back to using my glass palette. But this has been so nice because I can mix all my colors and pitch it, and I don't have to worry about scraping down my palette. I still have my palette down there. I just have been really liking this. Also added something else to my studio. I got this iPad holder because I have references of my daughter, of the chickens, and this way I don't have to like balance it on my lap. It was like 20 bucks or something from Amazon, and it has been a very good addition to my studio. The fun thing about starting a new painting is trying to decide where you want to start, and I think I should start with the animals. So here's what I did last time. I took off my old palette paper and I scraped all of my wet paints onto my new palette paper. And this worked out really well because then I didn't waste like hardly any paint. And then I used all of my yellow, so I'll get new yellow. I used almost all of my dark blue. Turquoise, I still have some. I still have some black. Okay, cool. Look at this. A brand new palette to work on. Isn't that amazing? I swear it's the simple things in life. A clean, brand new palette. Now that my little camcorder thing is charged up, I can show you what I just painted. I painted these little chicks and they're really cute. I did decide to keep 4 of them because I think that these 3 are kind of like their own unit, and this one kind of brings your eye over here, but then like it's going to point it back up towards the character. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but in my mind, in my artist brain, it does. I was a little bummed that I didn't show you me painting these. One thing I really love to see from other artists is their mixing palette and how they combine colors. So let me show you. So I did a very minimal color mixing for these chicks. I am really leaning into expressive painterly brushstrokes. So that means mixing a color, kind of committing to it, laying it down, and not messing with it. And then that creates a really beautiful dynamic painting. This is not rocket science, but I want to tell you what I have been doing because I get so filthy in here with my painting. I put my apron on my lap, and then I put my rag, my painting rag, on my apron. And then I have been holding my palette on my lap. And then as I paint and as I change my color, I wipe it on my rag, and I've been really liking that method because it keeps my pants clean and it keeps me moving quickly. If I stop and I put my palette down and I get my paper towel and I wipe my brush and whatever, it like breaks my painting momentum and like my hyper focus on like laying down colors. So there is my new discovery of something I'm really liking. So I think next I want to paint this chicken, and I need to figure out a way to film my palette and my painting at the same time. I haven't quite mastered that yet. The next thing I want to paint in this painting is this, it's not a rooster, hen, this hen right here. They have these kind of like gobblers, which I don't know if that's the right word. The like hanging down red things, and I didn't draw that, but I will have to make sure I paint that. The colors of these chicks to be cohesive with the rooster mom, but the rooster obviously is a grown-up rooster, so I'm not worrying super. I'm using the colors that I've already mixed for my chicks for my hen. I keep calling it a rooster. And that will keep things pretty cohesive. So I'm finding my edges first. There's all of these like dark bits that I need to get in before I move on. So right here is a wet edge, and I don't want to really disturb the edge of this chicken. So I'm just going to paint around it. It's okay if this edge gets soft, but I don't want to lose it completely. So I'm coming in and making sure I'm thinking about my edges. Like the leg is kind of like coming down like this. I know that this leg is a little lighter here. And then there's a wing here. At the beginning of the process of painting in an animal, it looks kind of like just crazy because you're just trying to figure out lights and shadows. I'm actually going to pause. I was using this small brush. There is an old painting adage that says, start with a broom, finish with a hair. And I was painting with something way too small to begin with. So I'm going to switch to this big, fat, round brush. This is a size 8. And then lay down some color in some big chunks because I was getting a little bit in the weeds with my brush strokes, and I don't want that yet. I had chickens for many years, and one of them's name was Lips, which is a very funny name for a chicken. My daughter named the chicken that. And then after I had my third baby, I was out in the winter, like trying to crack the ice out of their water container. I had, my third child, and I was like, oh my gosh, this just feels like too much. Like I just couldn't handle it. And I called my friend who had a farm, and I said, would you like a few more chickens? And they said, yes, we would. And so they came and they picked up my chickens. And I was so relieved. I was like, thank you so much. It was just not the time in my life for me to have these animals that required more of me than I had to give. I have a very soft spot for chickens and those who love them because I also really love them. And I wanted them to have a good life with an owner that would make sure they got everything they needed, because at the time that was not something I could handle. So instead, I'll just paint some chickens and remember my sweet chickens. She is coming along quite nicely. And there's just like these little white feathers like this. comb. Oh my gosh, the word is comb. I know you guys were probably just yelling it at me. It's comb. She kind of has like red around her eye. Can't really see because my background's red. So whenever I come back in and get my background in, you'll be able to see it more. She doesn't have any legs yet. I really like this angled brush because I'm able to load it up at an angle and then get in here and make some sharper lines. Kind of carve out where I'm going, like her beak. I also like to use the angled brush to define some of my edges here, like under her arm and under her wing is maybe the right word. Okay, let's find her eye. I feel like that's really like the next thing I need to do. This is where I'm going to leave the painting for right now. I actually really struggled with making the hen look really pleasant and happy. Because their beaks kind of like turn down, like right where they meet their mouth. And that just makes a very sassy looking chicken. I kind of turned her beak upwards and gave her like a little bit of a swoop on her eye to make her look a little bit friendlier, and I think it worked. I have all of my animal characters in, and I get to move to the little girl next, and it's already looking super cool. So this is where I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you next week where I'll jump into painting the little girl. Thank you so much for joining me. See you guys later. Bye.